Hey team, this is Eddie coming at you. This will be my second video for my Ask and Seek library of videos. And I actually got my first question, and I actually already did this video, but I had some sound quality issues, so I wanted to redo it. The first one I recorded was from my office at my church, but now I'm just doing it at home. So, I want these videos to just be on a laid back anyway, so it's not professional at all. I did make a small investment in some equipment just to be able to do these at a bit higher quality, but very, very minimal investment. If this goes anywhere, we might be looking at a few other things, but for the moment, what I have is going to work for what I want to do. So the first question actually came to me from email, and it was an old friend reaching out, and they said, Eddie, do you have any recommendations for movies that point toward Jesus or point toward Messiah without overtly pointing toward Jesus or pointing to Messiah? And I said, oh, you know what? I think that's going to be my first question, because that is right in my wheelhouse. You mentioned faith and movies, so that is right up my wheelhouse. So yes. Now, the first thing I want to preface is that if you're looking for Christian movies that point directly to Christ with overtly Christian messages, then I can't recommend anything other than the Kendrick brother films. So you just do a quick Google search for Kendrick brother Christian movies, and all 5 or 6 of them are going to pop up. I can never remember them all off the top of my head, but it's Flywheel, Facing the Giants, Fireproof, Courageous, War Room. Okay, now I'm losing them, but basically it was two brothers from a church in Georgia that just started wanting to make movies, and their church surrounded them with love and affection and helped them make movies. So they're very low budget, but they're very, very good. So again, those are the Kendrick brother Christian films, and like I said, a quick Google search will reveal those for you. Now, obviously, in Christian cinema, you have like movies like Passion of the Christ, Jesus-centric films. You have Bible-centric films. I do want to recommend the movie Exodus: Gods and Kings by Ridley Scott. I think that movie's probably 8 or 10 or 12 years old now, but it's really, really good. A very deep theological study on the nature of Old Testament prophecy and the way God moved in the Old Testament. But getting into modern pop culture and modern films, there are a couple I want to bring up. These shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of the Lord of the Rings films, was a Roman Catholic, and his faith inspired a lot of the happenings, plot points that go on in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mainly the character of Aragorn. He is a king, but he's been robbed of his throne. And everybody sort of looks at him as sort of like an imposter or a vagabond or sort of this wanderer, and nobody respects him. Nobody gives him the time of the day, and nobody really listens to him. And of course, that's a Christ allegory, because Jesus came into his own people and was not recognized, was not accepted, was not listened to. And so there's very heavy Christ allegory. Of course, there's themes of self-sacrifice. There's themes of nature, man's nature versus evil. There's themes of redemption and salvation in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So that's a high watermark. That's one you should definitely jump into if you haven't already. Another great one is, believe it or not, the Matrix trilogy. That's with Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. Now, warning, because those are rated R, so that comes with a heavy, heavy warning. We have extreme gun violence. We have crushing action, bone-breaking type action, harsh language, and even some sexuality in the second movie of the Matrix trilogy. So those come with a warning, and I only mean those for mature audiences. But there's heavy, heavy Christ allegory in the Matrix films. Neo is basically a Christ allegory. Now, he is more of a Gnostic Christ, more of a flawed Christ, more of a broken-hearted and confused Christ figure. But as he moves through the trilogy, his Christ-like nature becomes more apparent to him and everybody around him, And the film trilogy basically ends with him making a very Christ-like sacrifice for the people in the Matrix and the people outside of the Matrix. So that's very pivotal, very important. Another one I want to recommend is another one that's R-rated, so it comes with a hefty warning, is Stephen King's The Green Mile. So in the story of The Green Mile, you have Tom Hanks' character, who is a prison guard on death row in some southern state. And this very large, very distraught black man is brought in. He's accused of killing 2 young girls. Basically, over the course of the film, you find out that the black man, John Coffey, has been unjustly accused, that he's innocent, but that he's still heading to death row. John Coffey has the ability to heal. He has the ability to bring out the best in people. He has the ability to see into people, heal them both physically and spiritually. So, of course, he is a heavy Christ analogy. And the fact that it takes place on death row, John Coffey is headed toward the electric chair just as Jesus Christ was headed toward crucifixion and toward the Roman cross. So there's heavy, heavy Christ allegory there. Of course, another problem, because it's Stephen King, because it's rated R, heavy, heavy violence, disturbing imagery, harsh language, sexuality. But the Christ-like elements, the Messiah elements are very, very keen and strong in movies like The Green Mile. James Cameron's Avatar. I think it's 5 or 6 years old now at this point in 2021, but most of you will know it as the movie with the big, tall, blue space cats. So James Cameron's Avatar, not to be confused with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay. So James Cameron's Avatar, you have the character of Jake. He's a war veteran. He's torn up both physically and emotionally, and he gets a shot to go into the fray one more time to a planet called Pandora. Now, he starts off as sort of like a spy, using an avatar body to get in with the Na'vi, which is the race of the tall blue cat people. So there's a very Judas type scenario going on, that he wants to get information. He wants to make things easier for the RDF, which is like this militarized, almost, military force that wants to take the Na'vi's land. But he grows to be one of the people. He falls in love with one of the people, and they accept him into their tribe. And it's about how someone who wasn't of their people comes into their people, becomes one of them, fights for them, and ultimately makes the ultimate sacrifice for them. So that is very Christ heavy, because he wasn't one of us. He didn't belong to us, but he loved us enough that he wrapped himself in our body, our type of body, wrapped himself in flesh, came and dwelt among us to save us. So heavy Christ allegory in James Cameron's Avatar. One more I want to mention before we sign out is the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, consisting of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Now, obviously, any superhero film will have connotations of like self-sacrifice or laying down your life for your friends or your allies. But the Dark Knight trilogy is peppered with obvious Christ allegories. There's many times within the 3 films that Batman is either referred to or is seen doing things that are very allegorical to Christ's nature. But no more so than the 3rd film. Of course, the 1st and 2nd films are leading to the conclusion. But basically, in the 3rd film, you have Batman going up against one of his main adversaries in the comic books, Bane. And Bane is very successful in breaking Batman, both physically and spiritually. He puts him at the bottom of a place called the Lazarus Pit. And down there, broken and beaten and defeated, he has to watch and understand that Bane is going to destroy Gotham City. So you have Bruce Wayne, like I said, beaten and broken and thrown in a pit, basically buried, has to build himself up and rise out of the pit to defeat Bane. So in the 3rd movie, you basically have the death, burial, and resurrection of the Batman in order to defeat Bane and save the people of Gotham. And you also have characters like Catwoman, James Gordon, Alfred Pennyworth, that all sort of go through their own sort of spiritual death, birth, and reawakening within the context of the narrative of the film. And it's very poetic, it's very, very beautifully, it's very well done. I'm a big fan of the 3 Nolan films. Now, while it's true that Zack Snyder's Superman films and Justice League films do have also Christ-like elements as it comes to the character of Superman, they're not nearly as well done or as, I say, poetic or smart as what Chris Nolan did in the Dark Knight trilogy. But of course, Superman himself is a big allegory to Jesus Christ. He's not one of us, but he lives amongst us to save us. He puts us and our needs before his own. So there's heavy Christ allegory in characters like Superman. So, obviously I know I'm forgetting, but this video is already clocking in about 10 minutes. So that's the sweet spot for these. I'd like to keep these at about 10 to 12. My first video ran a bit longer because sort of like my inaugural video. So thank you, dear friend, for the question. I hope this gleaned some insight for you. I hope you got some stuff queued up on Netflix and Hulu now. Some of these you won't be able to find on streaming, so you might actually have to go to the Walmart or hit up Amazon and order some physical copies of some of these, because streaming is hit or miss when it comes to that specific movie you want to watch. I'm finding that out very, very clearly. So, yeah, so thanks again for the question. This is episode 2. This is Eddie signing off for Ask and Seek. God bless you, God keep you, and keep the questions coming. That's what I'm here for. It's going to be my joy and pleasure to answer them for you.